Okay. Unfortunately, I didn't make a video of the process because it was really hot out while we were doing it, and we were just trying to get it done in the heat. But got a 93 S10 here. Pulled the V6 out of it because it seized up. We did throw, throw plastic over it so that you can save any parts, and also reference back to some of these plugs. We wanted to know before we got rid of them what they were for, so we basically just kind of would go over and check back and forth, and you should really label them before you pull it. We wish we would have thought of it, but okay. So all right, as far as fitment goes, all right, basically what we had to do was we put the hoist up out as far as possible, and we had the tranny hooked to it. We did have the front clip hooked to it. All right, so you can put this motor in here. It's not fun, but you can put this motor in with this front clip on. So what we did, we're on a slight incline here, so what we did was we hooked the chain as far to the front of the motor as possible without it being facing upwards or spilling anything, so that the tranny was facing more down. So what we did was we pushed the tranny down into the tunnel, and we lowered the motor, and then through the bottom of the truck, just the way the jack is right now, we had the tranny held up. So we put the tranny up a little bit, and then the motor down, and then the tranny up, and then the motor down, and then we would roll the truck back and forth as needed, so in order to clear the radiator support. Okay, now the only problem we did have, we have a really big distributor on here, so this this cap actually knocked off while we were putting it in, and luckily it didn't break, but it's not going to fit in here. We can't get this against the firewall, so you'd need either a smaller distributor, or we're just going to change the cap so that we don't have this big piece on here, because unfortunately the coil is in this gray piece. You can't pull it out. On some of these you can just take off the little pretty part on the top, but this one you can't. So all we're going to do is just put a new cap on. All right, we're obviously still going, but we use the trans-dapt motor mounts, and everybody complains about them, and they're really not fantastic. They're nothing special, but they work fine. We put them on the regular bolt. Now we wound up cutting both of these little tabs that were on the old motor mounts because they're the same as the new ones. So instead of putting in the new motor mounts and having to go in, because when on this side, if you can see right here, there's a little hole, and you can kind of get in to take these bolts off to take the motor mount out. On this side there's nothing. So on this side, if you're going to change your motor mount completely, which we didn't need to because ours were fine, you're going to have to cut a hole here in order to unbolt this, unfortunately. Okay, so as you can see, we haven't put our headers. We have exhaust manifolds and we have headers. I think we're going with exhaust manifolds just because they fit in a little easier. But as you can see, there's plenty of room for the starter. But what you need to know is, like we have we're using a T5 tranny, a V8 T5 tranny out of a Camaro. So in order to do that, we had to buy a starter with 153 tooth flywheel, and it has no cap on the starter. So I'll show you. I got some other starters here. There's Fred here. All right, here's another. This starter came off of the V6. This is too big, this cap here. It won't fit inside the T5 V8 bell housing. So if you're using that, and this is off of an El Camino, obviously this thing is huge, but once again, the little nipple piece on the top here, doesn't allow it to go into the bell housing. So you either need one that doesn't have this at all or has a smaller piece. But we tried Camaro, we tried Silverado, we tried a couple different ones, and some of them didn't have the nipple and still had this, and it didn't matter. It still rubbed right here. You can see where we were trying to put it in. We wound up going, I could not tell you what it's off of. All I can tell you is that we went to the store. You have to go to a professional parts store, and you need a 153 tooth flywheel, and you need a 153 tooth starter to go with it. Unfortunately, it is not a $40 starter. It is more like 150 or 120, something like that, but you gotta do what you gotta do. We're gonna go with, I heard that you can use a Corvette radiator, but we're going with a setup, you know, offline that is, it's made for a V8 S10 swap, and it's gonna be a radiator and then a double fan on this side of the radiator, and that way we don't have to cut down the size of our water pump, because if we put a fan on here, we're not going to be able to get a radiator in here. So some people, what they do is they do a low profile water pump, but as long as we can get the radiator in here tight, we'll be fine. We're using the power steering that was on the 305 that we're putting in here. It's out of a 87 El Camino, but the V6 one out of this S10 is the same exact, so you would be able to use that on this 305, or a 350 would also work. So as you can see, you know, I'm just kind of trying to give everybody a gauge of, you know, how much header room there is once we got the motor in here. As you can see on this side, if you buy the headers that are made for this, from what I'm told, I have them and we haven't pulled them out yet to look at them, because we're probably going to use the exhaust manifolds, because they only come to like right here. It should just barely clear this steering column. The headers, from what I understand, one of them goes around this, so you actually have to unbolt this, put the header on, and then put this back on. I'm not really interested in doing that, so we're not going to go for headers for right now. Okay, there's a little bit of room in the firewall. Okay, as far as the firewall, what you need to do is, as you can see in certain parts through right here, I have plenty of room. Well, this is my son's truck, but he has plenty of room. Okay, but really all you need to do in order to make things easy for getting bolts in and out, just hammer in the lip that is on the firewall. There's a lip there, and if you bang that lip flat, and at first it seems like it ain't going in, but when you start getting it going, it'll start moving. You bang that thing in, and it'll get right in there. You get it flat, and everything, as you can see, everything goes in fine, and you can't see anything. All right, there's a little bit of banging right here. That's what that silver is, but I'll tell you what, you don't notice anything. The only thing that you might want to do is sand it down and then reprime it or something before you put the motor in, just so that you don't get any rust. But as some guys said, they made some cuts and then banged it in. There's no need to do that. It goes in. There's no need to take your front clip off, but I'll tell you what, if this is a project that you're going to be doing for a while, take the front clip off. It'll be a hell of a lot easier. This is something we're just trying to get done because he blew a motor and he needs wheels. So as you can see, once you get the motor in, you know, like we're going with the fuel pump that was in here. We're running we cut the fuel lines somewhere right around the door here, and we're just gonna go fuel injection lines, even though we're going carbureted. That way later on, if we switch over to like Phytech or the Sniper or anything like that, it'll already be, the fuel lines will already be ready for it. You just have to change the pump and the manifold and everything. This is a manual choke. So this is coming off, but we didn't want to pull it off until we were ready to put the other one on. Yeah, like I said, if you have any questions, let me know, because basically our biggest problem was we were nervous to get started because we didn't want to start putting this motor in and then not have enough room, you know, for the motor, for the headers, for anything like that. So I was really trying to look up, you know, how that works out, and I'll tell you what, nobody really talked about it. So this is, you know, a quick little video on how everything works out. Right now he's on rear jack stands, but the front with the 305, it might have came down about an inch, maybe an inch and a half. So everybody says you got to change your springs. You really don't have to. It's just going to be lower. You know, these are stock rims, and right now this is what he's going to run. If we decide to switch it up, then obviously that'll change. But you know, it's actually been relatively smooth going. Like I said, we used the we went with the T5 out of a Camaro. We also have a T5 out of a Firebird. Either one will work. The only problem is the shifter for the S10 is up here. The shifter for the the V8 is going to be right in front of the seat, which is where my son wants it. We're pulling this seat out, and he's going to put some buckets in here. But I just, you know, wanted to let you know, you are going to have to either cut a hole here, or what you can do, if you already have the T5 in your S10, you can pull the tail shaft off and you can put the tail shaft on the V8 tranny. The only problem is your speedometer. You will either have to have a little metal piece welded onto the shaft before you put the tail shaft over it. You know, the casing over the tail shaft, because basically what it is that part of the shaft is a little bit thicker. It's basically just literally it's a shaft, and that part of it is thicker, so that when it turns, the speedometer is reading how many times it's going around. So when you move the tail shaft, you're not moving that, so you're either gonna have to weld something there, or some people just use GPS. You know, you just buy a little GPS speedometer and you're good to go, and you don't have to worry about that. So that's probably the actually, since we're not changing our tail shaft, the speedometer is going to work for ours. All right, so but instead we have to cut a hole, and then we have to plug a hole. So that's another issue you'll come across. Trying to cover everything, because like I said, you know, I was trying to do a bunch of research, and there's definitely lots of it out there, but really the best luck you're gonna have researching is going, you know, more through like Google or something like that, where you can read things as opposed to watch videos, because a lot of the videos people kind of rush through. They assume you know things or whatever, and you know, for me, my problem was, like, I was just nervous to get started and then be stuck somewhere. So you're also going to need to, you know, block off your manual if you're, you know, if you're not going to use that. But you know, if you're using carbureted, you know, you use a manual fuel pump, that'll work fine for you. Like I said, right now we're just trying to get it running. So my next video will be about my F100. I'll be running through it, but right now I'm waiting on a fuel filter. So like I said, if you have any questions, let me know. And when this is done, I'm sure we'll make another video of maybe do some I don't know if we'll do some burnouts. It's only a T5. I don't want to tear it up. It's really just going to be a driver, but do a video, you know, him driving down the road and seeing how everything runs. So yeah, and if you use the that's the other thing, if you use the T5 tranny, you will not have to change, where are we, there we are, your cross member, your drive shaft, anything like that. Okay, we have a bag on it right now because we don't want it leaking, but The tranny is in the same exact spot as it was when it was a V6 tranny. Okay, so we still haven't put the drive shaft in, but there's plenty of room and the drive shaft is gonna fit without any cutting. Any questions or comments, let me know. Thanks for watching.